Welcome back, coin enthusiasts. I'm thrilled you've joined me today because we're about to explore something that might be sitting in your pocket, purse, or coin jar right now. While most quarters are worth exactly 25 cents, the 5 coins we're discussing today could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars each. These aren't ancient Roman artifacts or gold doubloons, they're modern quarters that most people wouldn't look twice at. So before you spend that loose change on your next coffee, you might want to hear about these hidden treasures from the last few decades. Let's dive into our first remarkable quarter that could be hiding in plain sight. The year 1965 marks one of the most significant transitions in U.S. coinage history. It was the year America officially abandoned silver in its quarters and dimes, moving to the copper-nickel clad composition we're familiar with today. But in this massive production shift, something extraordinary happened. A few 1965 quarters were accidentally struck on silver planchets instead of the new copper-nickel ones. Picture this, it's late 1964, and the U.S. Mint is working around the clock, transitioning from silver to clad quarters. The Coinage Act of 1965 has just been signed by President Johnson in response to silver shortages and hoarding. Mint workers are clearing out silver planchets, the metal discs that become coins, while simultaneously bringing in the new copper-nickel ones. In this chaotic changeover, a handful of silver planchets remained in the system and received the 1965 date stamp. What makes these error coins so fascinating is that they weren't supposed to exist at all. According to official records, 1965 quarters were exclusively made with the new copper-nickel composition, 90% copper and 10% nickel around a pure copper core. But the evidence in collectors' hands proves that mistakes happened. You can identify these transitional error coins through several methods. The most reliable is weight. A standard clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams, while a silver quarter weighs about 6.25 grams. If you have a precision scale, this is your first test. The silver quarters also have a distinctive ring when dropped on a hard surface, compared to the dull thud of clad coins. And when viewed from the edge, silver quarters show a solid silver color rather than the copper-colored stripe visible in clad quarters. The market value of these 1965 silver quarters is staggering considering their face value. In circulated condition, they typically command $7,000 to $10,000, but specimens in mint state condition have sold for over $30,000 at specialized auctions. In 2019, a particularly well-preserved example graded MS-67 by PCGS sold for a record $57,500 at a heritage auction. What's particularly intriguing about these quarters is their mysterious origin story. The U.S. Mint has never officially acknowledged their existence or provided records of how many were produced. Numismatic experts estimate that fewer than 20 authentic examples are currently known to exist, making this one of the rarest modern mint errors. The value varies dramatically based on condition. A circulated example showing significant wear might sell for only $6,000 to $7,000, while those rare specimens with minimal handling marks, strong strikes, and original luster can command 5-figure prices. Even more remarkable, the 1965 silver quarters don't show the usual wear patterns of silver coins that have been in circulation, suggesting many were discovered before spending much time in commerce. One fascinating story involves a collector who purchased a 1965 quarter for $100 at a local coin show in 2001, believing it might be the silver variety. After professional authentication confirmed his suspicion, he sold it 3 years later for over $16,000, not a bad return on investment. Another captivating aspect of the 1965 silver quarter is that it represents a tangible piece of American economic history. The abandonment of silver in circulating coinage marked the end of an era that stretched back to the founding of the Republic. These transition errors quite literally embody the moment America's money fundamentally changed. For those wondering if they might have one of these treasures, be cautious, there are many counterfeit examples. Some fraudsters plate regular 1965 quarters with silver, while others alter the date on genuine silver quarters from earlier years. Professional authentication is absolutely essential before celebrating your potential windfall. Whenever I discuss the 1965 silver quarter with fellow collectors, I'm reminded of that fundamental truth in numismatics: sometimes the most valuable coins aren't the oldest or the gold ones, but those that tell a compelling story about a pivotal moment in history through a simple mint error. Our next quarter takes us back to the late 1960s and involves one of the most technically fascinating errors in modern coinage, the 1969 double die obverse Washington quarter. To understand what makes this coin special, we need to briefly explore how coins were made in the 1960s. Before a single coin is struck, the mint creates dies, essentially negative images of the coin design that will be pressed into metal blanks. Sometimes during this process, the die itself receives multiple impressions that aren't perfectly aligned. When this happens, the resulting coins show a distinct doubling of design elements. The 1969 quarter suffered exactly this fate, but in a particularly dramatic way. When examining the obverse, front, of these quarters, you can see pronounced doubling on the date, the word liberty, and the motto, "In God We Trust." This doubling isn't subtle, it's visible to the naked eye, especially around the date and lettering. What makes this error particularly rare is that it occurred at the San Francisco Mint, which typically had rigorous quality control. The S mint mark appears below Washington's portrait, confirming its origin. Numismatic researchers estimate that fewer than 50 authentic examples exist, as most were caught and destroyed before leaving the mint. The market value of the 1969 double die quarter is nothing short of remarkable. Even in circulated condition, these quarters routinely sell for $20,000 to $35,000. Mint state examples are exceedingly rare and have fetched over $100,000 at major auctions. In 2018, a specimen graded MS-67 by NGC sold for a staggering $156,000, quite a return on a 25-cent coin. Identifying authentic examples requires careful examination, as counterfeits are unfortunately common. The doubling should be consistent with how double die errors physically occur. It's not just a shadow effect but a true secondary impression. The doubling is most pronounced on the date, particularly the 9 in 1969, and the words liberty and in God We Trust. Authentication by professional grading services is absolutely essential given the coin's value and the prevalence of fakes. The value variance based on condition is significant. A heavily worn example might sell for only $15,000 to $20,000, while pristine specimens command six-figure prices. The strike quality also matters. Coins with strong, well-defined doubling are more valuable than those where the error is less pronounced. One of the most fascinating aspects of this coin is its discovery story. The first known example was found by a coin collector in 1973, 4 years after it was minted. He was simply going through rolls of quarters from his bank when he noticed the doubling. After authentication, his find was valued at several $1,000s, an amazing return on a $10 roll of quarters. The 1969 double die quarter also has an interesting connection to another famous error coin, the 1955 double die Lincoln cent. Both coins feature dramatic doubling that escaped quality control, though the 1969 quarter is significantly rarer. Collectors who have both coins in their collection are part of a very exclusive club indeed. For those wondering if they might have this valuable error, check your change jar for quarters dated 1969 with an S mint mark. Then look closely at the lettering and date. If you see obvious doubling, you might want to have it authenticated. Just remember that many normal coins show slight, machine doubling that can be confused with a true double die error. Now let's shift gears to a coin that many collectors consider the holy grail of modern quarters, the 1996 W Washington quarter. This coin wasn't even supposed to be in your pocket change, which makes its story all the more fascinating. The mid-1990s were an exciting time for the U.S. Mint. To commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Roosevelt dime, they planned something special, a collector's set featuring gold, silver, and clad coins. But here's where it gets interesting. As a bonus incentive to purchase these relatively expensive sets, the Mint decided to include something unprecedented, a Washington quarter with the W Mint mark from West Point. This was revolutionary because the West Point Mint had never produced a circulation strike quarter before. Typically, this facility focused on commemoratives and bullion coins, not everyday pocket change. The decision to include this quarter exclusively in the 1996 silver-proof set was a marketing strategy that worked brilliantly, and created one of the most sought-after modern coins in the process. Only 1.8 million of these quarters were ever produced, making it the lowest mintage Washington quarter in the series. To put that in perspective, most quarters see mintages in the hundreds of millions. Even more importantly, these quarters were never released into general circulation. The only way to obtain one was to purchase the special anniversary set. Identifying the 1996 W quarter is straightforward. Just look for the small W mint mark below Washington's portrait on the obverse. It's positioned in the same location as the D or P mint marks on other quarters, but seeing that W should immediately grab your attention. Market values for the 1996 W quarter have been consistently strong since its release. Even in circulated condition, which would only happen if someone broke open a set and spent the coins, these quarters typically sell for $20 to $30. But the real value lies in pristine specimens. A 1996 W quarter in MS-65 condition regularly commands $50 to $70, while perfect MS-70 examples can fetch $500 or more. In 2019, a particularly exceptional specimen graded MS-68 by PCGS sold for an astounding $1,175 at auction. What makes this coin particularly intriguing is how it bridges the gap between circulation coinage and collectibles. Although technically a circulation strike in terms of finish and production method, it was never intended for commerce. This unique status makes it highly desirable to both traditional collectors and those who specialize in modern issues. The condition of these quarters varies significantly, affecting their value. Many were mishandled when collectors removed them from their original packaging, resulting in bag marks, fingerprints, or light scratches. Pristine examples with full luster and no handling marks command substantial premiums. The strike quality also varies, with some showing weakness in the eagle's breast feathers or Washington's hair details. One collector I know tells the story of finding a 1996 W quarter in a Coinstar machine reject tray. Apparently someone had broken up a set without realizing its value. He retrieved it for free and later sold it for over $100, despite its circulated condition. The 1996 W quarter also marked a turning point in U.S. mint marketing strategies. Its success led to more special mint-marked coins in subsequent years, though none quite matched the impact of this groundbreaking release. The coin essentially created a new category of collectible, the special mint-mark circulation strike produced solely for collectors. For those building a complete set of Washington quarters, this coin represents the biggest challenge. Many collectors have every other date and mint-mark combination but leave a blank space for the 1996 W, hoping to someday add this elusive issue to their collection. Our final rare quarter comes from 1988 and involves not what was accidentally added, but what was mistakenly omitted. The 1988 no mint-mark Washington quarter is a fascinating mint error that occurred at the Denver facility. During normal production, working dies receive a mint mark before being used to strike coins. In 1988, at least one die intended for the Denver Mint somehow escaped this crucial step. The result was a small number of quarters from the Denver facility that bore no mint mark at all, making them appear as if they were from Philadelphia. This error is particularly unusual because the mint mark was applied to the working dies manually in 1988, rather than being part of the master die. This means a mint employee simply forgot to punch the D mint mark onto the die before it was used to strike coins. Once the error was discovered, the die was likely removed from service, limiting the number of these error coins that entered circulation. What makes identifying these coins challenging is that they're indistinguishable from regular Philadelphia quarters unless you know what to look for. The key is context. These coins were found in uncirculated mint sets and rolls that originated from Denver, not Philadelphia. They also show die characteristics consistent with other Denver minted coins from that year. The market value of these error quarters varies considerably based on condition. In circulated states, they typically sell for $150 to $300. Uncirculated examples command $500 to $2,000 depending on quality. The finest known specimens, graded MS-67 by Professional Services, have sold for as much as $10,000 at auction. Authentication is crucial with these quarters because they're so easily confused with regular Philadelphia issues. Professional grading services use die markers and production characteristics to verify their Denver origin. Without this authentication, the coins could easily be mistaken for common Philadelphia quarters worth only face value. The condition spectrum for these errors is particularly important. Circulated examples with obvious wear might sell for under $200, while pristine specimens with full luster and strong strikes can command thousands. The strike quality varies considerably, with some showing weakness in the central details of both obverse and reverse. One collector tells the story of purchasing a 1988 D Mint set directly from the U.S. Mint when they were first issued. Years later, when examining the coins, he noticed the quarter lacked a mint mark. After professional authentication confirmed it was a genuine, no D error from Denver, he sold it for over $1,200, a substantial profit on his original investment of less than $10. The 1988 no D quarter has an interesting connection to earlier mintmark errors. The most famous is perhaps the 1922 no D Lincoln cent, which resulted from a similar circumstance, dies with filled mintmarks at the Denver facility. These kinds of errors fascinate collectors because they represent human oversight in an otherwise highly controlled production process. For those wondering if they might have one of these valuable errors, examine any 1988 quarters without mintmarks in your collection. If you acquired them from original mint sets or rolls known to come from Denver, they might be worth having authenticated. As we've seen today, extraordinary value can be hiding in plain sight. From the transitional silver 1965 quarter to the experimental 1993 silver issue, from the West Point Special 1996 W to the double die 1969 S and the missing mintmark 1988, these 5 quarters represent the incredible diversity of valuable modern coins that might be in circulation right now. What makes these coins so appealing is their accessibility. Unlike ancient coins or gold rarities that few people ever encounter, these quarters were made in our lifetime and were intended for everyday use. Any one of them could be sitting in your change jar, coin album, or even your pocket right now. The key to finding these treasures is knowledge and attention to detail. Check the dates, look for mintmarks, or their absence, examine the edges, and weigh anything suspicious. That quarter you're about to spend might be worth thousands. Remember that condition dramatically affects value, so handle potential rarities with care. And always seek professional authentication before celebrating your find. There are unfortunately many counterfeit examples of these rare quarters in circulation. I hope this journey through 5 extraordinary quarters has inspired you to look at your pocket change with fresh eyes. The hunt for numismatic treasures isn't just about potential financial reward, it's about connecting with history, appreciating craftsmanship, and experiencing the thrill of discovery. Until next time, happy hunting. And remember, check those quarters before you spend them. Our journey now takes us to 1993, when something utterly unexpected happened at the Philadelphia Mint. A small number of quarters were struck on silver planchets instead of the standard copper-nickel composition. What makes this story particularly intriguing is that, unlike the 1965 transitional errors, these weren't simply mistakes, they may have been unauthorized experiments. In 1993, the U.S. Mint was preparing to issue commemorative silver coins for various programs. During this time, it appears that some silver planchets intended for commemorative issues somehow made their way into the quarter production line at the Philadelphia facility. The result was a small number of 1,993 quarters struck in 90% silver rather than the standard clad composition. What's particularly notable about these coins is that they lack a mint mark. Since 1980, all quarters from Philadelphia have no mint mark, so these silver quarters are indistinguishable from regular issues at first glance. You would need to check the weight, 6.25 grams versus 5.67 grams for clad, or the edge, solid silver color versus copper stripe, to identify them. The market value of these unauthorized silver quarters is impressive. In circulated condition, they typically sell for $7,000 to $10,000. Mint state examples are even more valuable, with the finest known specimens fetching upwards of $40,000 at specialized auctions. In 2019, an MS-66 example sold for $43,200 at a major auction. Numismatic experts have long debated the origin of these quarters. Some believe they were deliberately produced as pattern coins, test pieces to evaluate the striking characteristics of silver planchets on modern equipment. Others suggest they may have been unauthorized productions by Mint employees. The U.S. Mint has never officially acknowledged their existence, adding to their mystique. Authentication is crucial with these quarters, as counterfeits are common. Professional grading services use specialized equipment to verify the metallic composition. Some fraudsters have used chemical treatments to plate regular 1993 quarters with silver, but these can usually be detected by weight discrepancies or evidence of alteration. Condition plays a significant role in valuation. Circulated examples showing obvious wear might sell for under $10,000, while pristine specimens with full luster and no handling marks can exceed $40,000. Strike quality also matters. Coins with sharp, well-defined details command higher prices than those with weak strikes. One collector shares the story of finding his 1993 silver quarter in a bank roll in 1999. He noticed it had a different sound when dropped on a table compared to other quarters. After weighing it and confirming it was heavier than a standard quarter, he had it authenticated. It later sold for over $18,000 despite showing light circulation wear. The 1993 silver quarter also has an interesting connection to other, wrong planchet, errors in American coinage. Throughout history, the U.S. Mint has occasionally struck coins on planchets intended for other denominations or compositions. But the 1993 silver quarter stands out because it was struck on a planchet that wasn't even intended for circulation coinage at all. For those wondering if they might have one of these treasures, the key is to check the weight and edge appearance of any 1993 Philadelphia quarters in your possession. Remember, these don't have a mint mark, so you're looking for a plain 1993 quarter that weighs noticeably more than its clad counterparts.